Hello everyone, my name is Protesilaos, also known as Prot. Today I want to do a video on philosophy. It will be about the practicality of philosophy, and to demonstrate exactly some of the points that I will mention herein, I want to also hike. So I am now starting to climb a mountain, and then after climbing to the top there is a dirt road that I will take, and then I will walk on that path. So now I am walking on rocky terrain. Maybe I can show you. So this is the rocky terrain. I don't know what you can see there, but trust me. Maybe here where it's the shade, so you can get an idea of the terrain. So let's keep going. So I will be walking up to the mountaintop. So I will hike up there, and you will accompany me, as it were, in this excursion in the mountains of Cyprus, the Troodos mountain range. And in accompanying me, I will regale you with philosophical insights. I will tell you things you may not know, things you may not have considered. Practicality then. Let's say the working title, which may be the final title, but I will check. The working title for today is Practicality, Honesty, and Patience. Okay? So that's the working title. Maybe I will change it, but that's the idea. Those are the themes I want to expound on. The themes I want to elaborate and to elucidate so that we understand what is the point. What is all this philosophizing about? How does it help us? How does it contribute to our life? How does it apply to what we are doing? And maybe I can show you the view, by the way. Since I am here, I'm still not at the top, of course, but maybe we can get an idea of the mountains. Okay, I'm not sure what is capturing the camera now because of the sunlight, but please bear with me. So what is the practicality of philosophy? Because you may have watched a video or two of mine. You might have checked my website. You may have read one or two publications there. I am a prolific writer, by the way. I write a lot, so when I don't do videos, I write something for my website. And it's not always philosophy, but on the topic of philosophy, I do a lot. So maybe you have checked some of my work. That is the point. You have checked some of my work, and you are, on the one hand, you are appreciative. You are like, okay, I see what you are doing. I can tell that you enjoy it. I can tell that this is something that works for you because it gives you happiness, a meaning to your life or whatever. And I can say that, yes, okay, this is good for you. But on the other hand, I remain skeptical. I still don't quite get what is this philosophy about. I don't get it because it doesn't really give me any answers. There isn't any kind of quick and dirty solution, a set of guidelines that I can follow and I can apply concretely, in my life, and understand exactly how philosophy works. So to actually see the value of it, I don't have that. So please, explain. Please do that favor for me. And I will do so with alacrity. Because I think you are talking to the right person. Because for me, philosophy is not something we just talk about, of course. we also talk about it. We think about it. We study it. But we don't do just that. It's not a strictly academic exercise in elucidating abstractions, in the clarification of concepts or whatever. Okay? So philosophy for me is a practical endeavor. It is a lifestyle. It is something that you actually do. The way I am walking now, for example. The way I am hiking. So it is something as practical as that. So I have to avoid some bushes, they have thorns, and avoid the branch of a tree, and then climb this goat trail, which consists of gravel, so the friction is suboptimal, and you see how it goes. So I have to be careful. I also have committed one hand to the selfie stick and the phone, so I have to be careful. Because if you roll from here, you will go rolling for several meters and we may not hear from you again. So obviously I don't want that to happen. But it might happen if I don't pay attention. So we are moving towards the top. And for me, philosophy is practical. It is theoretical, yes. There is a theoretical framework. Just to clean my hair. Oh, what happened? It's a mess. There is the theoretical framework, like metaphysics and so on. But that's in the background. That's not something we need to talk about the whole time. We need to apply those insights to particularize them. We need to understand how those abstractions, how that abstract structure pertains to the specifics of our case. So we cannot really remain at the level of the theoretical, because that does not really help us. Because if we are just theoretical, what about everyday affairs? What about our life day by day? What about it? We have no insight into it. So we need to have some practical way of expressing those insights. Otherwise they are useless, right? They may be useful in an intellectual sense, but they are useless in practice. Since there is shade here, let me show you again the view. So you see the forest with the pine trees, and I keep climbing, okay? Practical philosophy. Let's start with that. You may notice that I talk slowly. And you may think that there is something, with my condition. There is like something that I do not control and which is responsible, which is the contributing factor to this case, which is responsible for this phenomenon. This is not true. I speak slowly because at some point I recognized that the way we think is dependent on many factors, physiological factors, including the way we breathe. By the way, this is very, very steep. You cannot really tell, but we cannot see the top there. It depends on many physiological factors, one of which is breathing. So when you speak quickly, what happens is that you don't breathe properly. You don't take in sufficient oxygen. And what happens in that case is that your body has a natural reaction where it is basically entering into alarm mode, okay? The sirens are off, the alarm bells are off, and you are basically in a state where you are trying to get some fresh air. So you cannot think properly in that state because your body is reserving resources so that you can survive. It is committing resources to this task of basically waking you up. It's like, snap out of it. What are you doing? We are running out of oxygen here. Please, come to your senses. Please, bring in some fresh air. So, when you are in that state, you don't think clearly. Because you cannot put your attention, you cannot focus it on the subject matter, on what it is that you are thinking about. Because you can't. Your resources are reserved elsewhere. Whereas when you learn to think properly, when you control the cadence to breathe rather properly, when you control the cadence of the inhaling and of how you utter words, you give yourself the chance to remain calm. You give yourself the chance to not enter into that panic mode, okay? So we are at a higher vantage point. That was good. But there is more, so don't worry. I want to find the shade here. I can show you another side of our mountains here. Let's see, maybe here. I'm not sure what we can see, but there is. Okay, so more of the mountains. So, breathing and the cadence of talking. So I am descending now and then I will ascend again. The cadence of talking. So this is something that I paid attention to. Now you may say, okay, what does this have to do with philosophy? Breathing? Really? Are you serious? I could go and find a doctor, a physician, or I don't know, whatever is the expertise for this activity, and I could ask for their expert opinion on the matter. Why do I need a philosopher to tell me about the physiological aspects of thinking, of talking, and effectively of controlling the air and of being basically good at thinking? And the answer is, you are correct. You don't need a philosopher to tell you this. You can go and find the expert who is the foremost authority on the matter and gain their insight. And in gaining their insight, you will learn something that no one else can teach you. The philosopher cannot teach you that expert opinion because the philosopher is not an expert. Still, this is something that I do and I consider part of my philosophy. Part. I can then proceed to explain other parts. For example, what you are seeing now. I am now walking, I am hiking. But not only that, I am talking non-stop. So of course this is more difficult because I have to breathe in air just for the physical activity of hiking and also breathe air for talking. So of course this needs a certain degree of endurance, a certain level of stamina. You don't just fake this for the video, right? So I am doing this. And the reason I am doing this is again for philosophy. Because I noticed that the mind and the body are not different. We use different words to describe them, yes, but they are part of the same system. They are subsystems of the same super system, which we call the human organism, etc. Meaning, in very practical terms, that if your body is in a state that is not optimal, that is likely to affect your thinking. For example, you can think of it very simply. If you are sick, can you really do anything that is intellectually intensive? No. The answer is no. You really can't. Now I want to go, maybe we can see, I want to go through there and up the mountain. Anyway, no problem. So you can't really do it because the illness is again reserving resources, basically, because your body needs to overcome the illness, so of course it cannot commit resources to less important considerations, to you know, doing some intellectual activity that is not immediately applicable to your survival. So the energy basically goes to dealing with the illness. So there is that. So you can already see that there is a connection there. And you can also think of it if, for example, you have a pain and it is niggling you, it is there, it is always annoying you, it is always there reminding you, and your entire thinking revolves around that pain. You are like, oh, it hurts. Every few minutes you are reminded, it interrupts you, you cannot focus on anything. So again, you see the connection between the body and the mind. So I noticed this connection, and I came to the conclusion that if I want to think effectively, I also have to have a certain level of fitness that is conducive to this goal of thinking effectively. That is, so you can see where I am walking. I'm not sure because the sun is, so I have to walk through here. It's full of bushes, and this is Kistos, by the way. This bush that is plentiful in Cyprus and other parts of the Mediterranean. And let's get going. So I noticed the connection between mind and body, and I decided that I have to take care of my fitness, of my health. Let's put it simply, my health. So again, you may say, okay, I hear you, I am listening to what you are saying, health, blah blah blah, but what does that have to do with philosophy? If I need an expert opinion on matters of health, I will find the relevant medical expert, and this physician will tell me everything I need to know about health. What does a philosopher have to say about health? Have you ever been to a hospital? Have you ever administered anything that contributes to a person's health? And the answer is no. I am not a doctor. I am not a medical expert. So of course, yes, you have to find the expert. And yes, you have to listen to what the expert is saying. I am not the expert. But I can keep with this pattern. And I can keep telling you about individual patterns of behavior that inform my philosophy. And I will tell you about breathing, and I will tell you about talking, and I will tell you about fitness, and I will tell you about my diet, and so on. And in every one of those there is an expert. I am not the expert. In every one of those there is someone else who is not a philosopher, but who knows the subject matter better than I do. So you will keep asking, okay, if every one of those has a domain expert, what is the contribution of philosophy? I don't see it. All I see is experts. The philosopher is no expert in anything. He's not an expert in any one of those. What is happening? The answer is simple. The answer is that you are missing what unites those. You are missing the fact that I am piecing together a system out of those. I am putting them together, and in their interplay, I am finding something higher than the parts, greater than the parts. Because the combination of what I am describing is not haphazard, it's not random. It doesn't just happen. You don't just, close your eyes and pick items on the menu and you get this result. You get this ability to walk, talk, and think clearly. This unity of body and mind. This doesn't come without effort. This doesn't come without purposeful behavior. This doesn't arrive, you don't get it easily. It doesn't arrive to you, on the way packages do. You just order it and you sit there and it is delivered and you're like, okay, now I have what I need. You have to put in the work. So we have all those different aspects that inform my practical philosophy. So now you may say, okay, so what is the practical philosophy? I still don't get it. I see that you are walking and talking. Okay, I can do that as well. Am I a philosopher? Let's start thinking about this. How did I arrive at this condition? How did I stumble across this notion that the mind and the body are in unison, and if we want to cater to one, we must also cater to the other. We must tend to the needs of the other as well. When we do stuff in practice, we often don't pay attention to what we are doing. We just do it compulsively. We do it out of force of habit. So we don't really think about it. We are not aware of what we are doing. We are not mindful of our condition. We are just there performing the act, but our mind, our attention is basically disconnected from the act itself. We are doing it, let's say, robotically. We are doing it mechanically. We are not present in the moment. We don't have, our mind and our heart and our soul, let's say, poured into it. It's not an expression of ourselves. It's just there, but we don't connect to it. So let me be specific, because I am too abstract and maybe I have lost you. Let's talk about me. Let's talk about the fact that a few years ago, let's say in my early 20s, in my early 20s, I was working in Brussels. I was working at the European Parliament. This is what I have studied. I have studied European politics, economics, and law. So I was at the European Parliament, and the work there is done in English or in French. I speak English and French, but let's stick to English. So I had this notion at some point that my English is not good enough, okay? That I can speak, I can express myself, I can write, but I should be better. I am not up to par. I am a fraud. I am an imposter. That's what I thought. And so what happened is that I developed a sense of perfectionism. I developed this idea that I have to pay attention to every detail. I have to really care about it. I have to not let anyone think that I am imperfect. I have to show them, I have to do my best to show them that I am perfect. Okay, so I would, for example, compose an email, and this email would be, let's say, 2 paragraphs long, and I would need 20 minutes to do a simple email like that. So it was taking its toll on me, because I was thinking that I am bad, basically, and I was acting out of that thought without ever considering it, without ever pausing to actually think, is this the case? Am I really a fraud? Am I really an imposter? What is going on? I was just taking it for granted, and I was just acting robotically, as I explained. So at some point I took a step back. I was like, what are you doing here? Who told you this? Who planted in your mind this notion that you are a fraud? Is it consistent with the facts? Have you actually considered the specifics of the case? And concluded that you indeed are a fraud based on the facts? And the answer is no. This was just a baseless belief. This was just an insecurity. This was just my irrational self taking over. This act of pausing to think, of pausing to be honest with yourself, is the start of philosophy. It is how we start doing philosophy, because in our activities we start applying mindfulness, we start applying thinking, introspection, self-reflection, awareness. So we are doing something, and we are no longer doing it instinctively, compulsively. We are doing it and our mind is there, participating actively, discerning the patterns of what it is that we are doing, and elucidating them, trying to figure out whether what we are doing is right or not right for us. So I was being honest, basically. I was being honest with myself. And in being honest, I was capable of figuring out that my perfectionism was basically masking my insecurity. And that this insecurity was baseless. It came from nowhere. My English was okay. My thinking was okay. My level of expertise was fine. I knew what I was doing. I didn't need to be afraid of it. I didn't need to be insecure about it. So, by being honest, I was able to overcome this irrational behavior. I was able to combat my perfectionism, to overcome my perfectionism, to stop being a perfectionist. Of course, now I am simplifying, because this is not something that happens over the weekend, but it's something that unfolds over an extended period of time. You keep thinking about it, you keep reflecting on your condition, and eventually you act out of it. So, what we learn from this is not specific to insecurities when it comes to writing emails, okay? Because perfectionism, this attitude, spills over to basically everything you do. And this introspection as well is also not specific to this case. It too applies to everything we do. So when we think back, when we reflect on our condition, we are like, okay, honesty, when it applies to ourselves, when we are sincere with ourselves, when we look ourselves in the mirror and we are like, okay, I understand what the case is. I understand what I am doing. And now that I understand it, I know how to deal with it. I'm not trying to run away from it. I am not trying to deny it. I am not pretending that it is not there. I am facing it. I am confronting it. And now that I am confronting it, I can deal with it in a manner that is effective and specific to its particularities. So this is honesty. This is honesty in tandem with awareness or mindfulness or introspection or thoughtfulness, however you want to call it. So this is philosophical. So now you may think, okay, you managed to overcome your imperfection, but I am still skeptical. This is something that a psychologist could do as well, right? And yes, you are right. This is something that another expert can tell you about as well, of course. And you should listen to the experts. I have no problem with that. However, the expert, the psychologist, will limit their advice to the specifics of their field of expertise. So they will tell you, for example, how to deal with insecurity, but they will stop there. Whereas what I am doing, what philosophy is about, is to generalize, is to learn that, okay, this notion of honesty, this idea of being introspective, this attitude of being mindful applies to other things as well. And once you get that, you start applying it consistently everywhere. And this is basically how I applied it to, for example, this connection between the mind and the body. Because at some point, while being honest, I was like, now I see it. Now I see the connection. Now I see that my bad habits are influencing my mood, are affecting my sleep cycle, my levels of energy, and these in their turn influence how I think, condition the effectiveness of what I think, of how I can do it, you know. So there is that. So by being honest, by being mindful, I am able to now recognize the unity between body and mind. And I am able now to develop a lifestyle that accounts for this reality. A lifestyle that is honest. Why honest? Because it is rooted in the recognition of the fact that there is connection between body and mind. Just as the way I overcame imperfectionism was rooted in the fact that I was insecure and that I was masking it, rationalizing it as perfectionism. Okay? So we have this. Now you may say, okay, please give me some more examples, because this skepticism of mine is really strong and you still haven't convinced me. I understand. I understand very well. So let's think about something specific with this honesty that I am talking about and that I am touting. Let's think about dating. Ooh. Let's consider the fact that there is this idea of what is your type. Okay, so what kind of dating partner you have in mind? What is your perfect dating partner? What is your ideal of a dating partner? So you may think about it and you may start listing it. So they have to have this height and this color of eyes, and be rich and be smart and be thoughtful and be all those things, and you have a long list. So what happens is you have your type. What happens is you meet someone. Let me check where the sun is so that, okay. You meet someone and you start, your starting point is this perfect partner you have in mind. So this list of requirements. So you have this list and you are like, it's like your 100, the perfect score. So you meet this person and as you converse with them, as you get to know them better, you start observing imperfections. So you are like, you are not really 100. So I have to reduce the score, your score. So now you are 95. I spotted this other imperfection. I must subtract more points. So you get in the attitude, in the flow of taking away points as you keep grading, assessing this potential partner, this potential romantic other of yours. As you do that, you are in the mindset, you are in a negative mindset. You have the outlook, you have the idea that you are losing. Because you are like, look, we started from 100 and we are digressing, you know, we are losing points. It was 95, now it is 90, and if we keep this, we are reaching, you know, a very low score. I don't like this. So you get in the mindset of being disappointed, of having this vague, this ambiguous grief, this sense of uneasiness, this idea that something is wrong, but you are not exactly sure. You cannot really name it. You know that the person is not perfect, and this is disturbing you, but you don't really know exactly why you feel disappointed, but you feel it. It is there, so you are disappointed. And this basically usually means that you will discard this person and you will move to the next one, and you will also be disappointed, and this cycle will repeat itself. It will keep going for longer. So consider the other way of approaching this same issue. So instead of having a long list of requirements, you know, on what constitutes the perfect romantic partner, you have a very limited set of principles. Like, okay, it has to be a decent person, you know, not violent or something, but okay, basic stuff. So let's say your starting point is 50. Instead of 100, you start from 50. So you meet this person, and because you don't assume too many things, you give this person the chance to show you who they are. So they show you some aspect of their self. And now you have a positive outlook, because now you are like, oh, I learned something new. So I will add 5 points. So now you are 55. And I will keep adding as I keep learning more about you, and I will reach an assessment. But the outlook, when you are in this way, the outlook is upward. The trajectory is upward. So you may think that this is a trick, but it really influences your mood. It really changes how you think of this person, because now you are no longer using the ideal as your enemy. Now this ideal is helping you, you know, get a sense of direction. It is like the star in the sky, which helps the travelers understand, you know, how to orient themselves and find their way in their wilderness. So it is your lodestar. The ideal is your lodestar. It is your shining light, but it's not something actualizable. So the ideal, it's not something that you can have there. You cannot have the ideal romantic partner. So what is the philosophy in all this? Honesty. Honesty. Remember what I said earlier about being insecure and masking this as perfectionism? I was insecure about the fact that I am imperfect. I was insecure about what then? About the fact that I am human. The fact that humans are imperfect. And I was insecure about it. Same idea here. The romantic partner is a human. And guess what? Humans are imperfect. So if you think that humans can be perfect, you will be disappointed. You will be insecure. You will be in a state of ambiguous, vague grief. But whatever it is, you will not be okay. This is the point. You will not be in a stable state. There will always be something there that disturbs you, something that keeps annoying you. Okay? So this has to do with honesty. This has to do with the honesty that we need to have to admit what is the case. The honesty of acknowledging, where is the sun? Oh, sorry. Of acknowledging that we are human. Humans are imperfect. Now you may say, okay, wow, what an observation. We are human. Duh, that's obvious. And you are right. It is obvious. However, when something is obvious, sometimes we forget it is even there. It is so obvious that we not just take it for granted, we ignore it. We no longer consider it. And in failing to consider it, we start developing patterns of behavior or in formulating thoughts that do not account for it. So, for example, perfectionism. Perfectionism is basically the idea that we can be perfect. It is basically the idea that I developed because I forgot that humans are imperfect. The perfect romantic partner is the idea of a delusional person who, delusional like I was with my perfectionism, a delusional person who thinks that there exist perfect humans and by extension perfect romantic partners. They don't exist. So this is honesty in practice. This is honesty and introspection. Honesty and mindfulness. Okay? So you see how it applies to my lifestyle, thinking, walking, breathing, all of it. And also to practical considerations such as this banal, this everyday affair of dating. Okay? So if you are not recognizing what the case is, if you don't admit to the reality of your condition, you can simply not have the right attitude towards what is happening. You won't have the right disposition, the approach that is good for you. Just a second, because the sun is directly behind me. Maybe I should head in back because I'm not going anywhere anyway. So I'm just walking now. So let's head from whence I came. So you have the wrong attitude. When you have, though, the right attitude of being honest with yourself first and foremost, honest and introspective in this way, because honest with yourself, of course, means that you reflect on your condition. You think about what you are doing. So it's necessarily introspective. So when you are honest with yourself, you have to do it consistently. You cannot just be honest one day and then the rest of the week disconnect, be dishonest, be delusional, and basically be in a state that is not consistent with when you need to be honest. So you have to always be mindful. You have to always be honest with yourself. When you get into this habit of always being honest with yourself, always trying to figure out what the truth is, always try to understand what applies to your case. What are the specifics? What are the factors at play? What is happening here? What is happening to me? What am I doing? What am I thinking? What I am working towards? When you have this mindset, when you have this attitude, you start doubting. You don't take things at face value. You don't just find something and you are like, okay, this is it. No more introspection. We've got the truth. Case closed. Let's revert back to our ways. You don't do that. You do not take things at face value, so you keep doubting. Keeping it that way, so when you keep doubting, means that you are dubitative. This is a fancy word, which means that you are doubtful. You are in a state of mind where you are doubting. So you are dubitative. Dubitative means that you are, on the one hand, doubting, but it's not sufficient on its own. Because doubting on its own means nothing. It's useful when you are also searching for something. In this case, searching for what the case is. What I am doing, what I am working towards, what I am thinking. So not only are you dubitative, you are also inquisitive. You are inquiring about the factors at play. You are trying to figure out what is happening, what is going on. So you see how honesty builds up this disposition of questioning, of doubting. And these are also not on their own. These have to be done in a spirit of patience. Because if you are not patient, if you are searching for immediate results, you will not keep doubting. You will not keep inquiring. You will do it once or twice, and then you will quit. Because you are impatient. So this relates to what I have said in previous videos as well, of being patient. For example, with my walking here, I am being patient. I am moving at a pace that I can sustain, okay? It's a pace that is natural, a pace that is honest, because it is my pace. I have recognized this pace and I can keep going at it. And because I can keep it this way, I do not feel the pressure to quit, to get out of that state of mind, escape from that disposition of dubitativeness, inquisitiveness, honesty, mindfulness. You see how all these work together, okay? This attitude, this disposition, this mindset is not just for dating or for walking or for writing emails. It is for everything we do in life. Everything. Bar none. Everything we do is done better when we put our mind to it, when we think about it. It is much better than just leaving it to force of habit or to, prejudice, bias, social conventions, whatever. When we are mindful, we are in a better place to act from a position of knowledge, from a position of relative control. We are not leaving things to chance. We are not leaving things to just happen and hope for the best. When we can exert control, to the extent that we can, but when we can, we do it. Let's consider then how this extends further. This attitude of being honest is an intellectual virtue as well. Because when I am honest, when I am dubitative in this way, when I am inquisitive, what I am interested in is the truth. The truth, of course, not in an absolute sense, but the approximate truth. I want to figure out with the means available what the best answer is, what the best explanation is, with the means available. If the means change, if we gain insight of a higher level, then of course I will reconsider. But given what I have, what is the truth? This means then that when we are searching, when we are doubting, we are not really interested in our narrative. We are not really trying to prove ourselves true. I am not here trying, developing an idea and trying to show the world that this is the right idea. No. I am formulating a hypothesis and I am putting it to the test. But if somebody else tells me that I am wrong, and if their arguments are cogent, if they show me that how I am wrong, so it's not just something dismissive, but it's something constructive, then yes, thank you. Show me that I am wrong. Please do it. Because in showing me that I am wrong, you are pointing towards the truth. You are helping me avoid, the wrong path, going down the wrong path. You help me escape from this treacherous, from this slippery slope that is the falsehood I am entertaining. You give me the chance to walk on the right path, the path towards the truth. So, because I am not interested in vindicating the categories that I have already assumed as true, because I am not really caring about myself, I am able to be a better person. Because I will not pick a fight with you. I will not be opinionated in the way that people are defensive of every opinion that they have. I will have an opinion, yes, but I will not be attached to it. It will not be an extension of myself. It will not be this idea that, I have to absolutely defend this opinion because if I lose it, I lose my honor. And if I lose this opinion, maybe I lose my pride. I lose my intelligence. It will be an insult. These are inane considerations. When you are honest, you don't care about any of this. It does not matter. Your status, this honor, this pride, this apparent smartness does not matter. What matters is the approximation of the truth. So you let go of your views if you find better views. You are not in the mindset of picking up fights with people, verbal fights, intellectual fights. You are not there to outsmart anyone. You are not in the business of being, of being pretentious, of giving this idea that you are smart. No. You let go of your thoughts, of your opinions, and you move to better thoughts if they are available. I am approaching a good vista over here. So maybe we can take a short break from philosophizing to do some sightseeing. Let's see. I am not sure. The sun is... Wait, okay. I am not sure what you can see. I can't see anything. But maybe you can see something. I started from somewhere down there, okay? So quite far away. But let's move in that direction now and see what we do. So you are a better person. You are a better person because now this patience that you have for introspection, this honesty that you have towards the truth, informs your interpersonal relations. If you sit at the table with me, for example, let's say we will have a cup of tea. I will not try to outsmart you. I will not try, I will not feel insecure, like, oh, I have to show how smart I am to this person, because otherwise they may think that I am not a philosopher. They may think that I am a fraud. I don't feel that way. I am relaxed. I am as relaxed as it gets. I may not talk much, actually. I want to listen to what you have to say, because that may help me understand myself better. And when I comment on what you say, I will do it in kindness. I will do it with empathy, by understanding, because I am honest, by understanding that humans are imperfect, that humans can improve, that humans can make mistakes, but that to make mistakes is not a problem. Because what matters in our life is the attitude we maintain. If I make a mistake, but I show that I am willing to learn from it, that's a good thing. That's something to be to do. That's something to always put to the forefront. That's not something I should be ashamed of. Like, oh, I made a mistake. Oh my goodness. Now they will think that I am imperfect. It doesn't matter. They should know that I am imperfect. I am as imperfect as it gets. But I am honest about it. I have recognized it. So I am no longer insecure about reality. The reality of the human condition. The reality of our imperfection. Okay? So you see how practical this gets. How it applies to daily affairs, how it applies to interpersonal relations. When you are in this attitude, the way I am, the way of being patient, the way of being honest, do you think that I am the kind of person who is judgmental? The kind of person who will sit somewhere and issue exhortations, do this, do that, be this person, be that person, listen to me, I make no mistakes? I am not that person, because that person is not honest. That person, that judgmental fellow, is self-righteous. That person has an idea that they are somehow better than everybody else. I don't have that idea, because in being honest, I admit my imperfections. And what I say, what I always communicate, is an appeal to your reason, an appeal to think about your experiences. Remember what we said about being human? That's obvious, right? Being honest, that's obvious, right? Being patient, that's obvious, right? There are no magical solutions. Being able to think clearly when you are healthy, that's obvious, right? Everything is obvious. I have nothing to teach you that is not obvious. All I can do is bring your attention to what is in front of you, is to remind you, hey, there is this. It is right there. But because it is always there, you are underestimating it. You are ignoring it. But if you work on it, if you take the obvious and factor it in, you will be a better person in practice, because exactly it is there, so it is always there. So if you work on it, you will always be better. Philosophy is generalist. It has this big picture view of things. So I am able, by having this big picture view of things, this wider perspective, this macro view, I am able to see how the different compartments of knowledge relate to each other. I am able to piece together a system out of all those compartments. And in piecing together this system, I am able to do something that no specialist can do within their realm of specialization, within their domain. They have to be able to escape from the confines of that domain and apply their lessons at a more abstract level. Apply their insights at a level that is not peculiar to their specialization. And in doing that, they are doing philosophy. I did not study philosophy. I have no formal training on the matter. And so I understand how you feel when you are skeptical about the practicality of philosophy. Because there are two problems. One problem is the scope of philosophy. Philosophy is generalist, as I said. There are lots of different traditions, schools of thought, ideas, styles of expression. There is a lot to consider. So of course, for a beginner, this is just too much. You're like, okay, I am lost. Where do I start? And my answer to that would be, start like me, be practical. Start with how I started, not with trying to memorize what X and Y philosophers said, but trying to see in practice how life works and try to learn from that. So that's the one thing. The other thing which is difficult and why you are justified to be a skeptic, and of course skeptic itself is a philosophical disposition, but let's not get into that. Philosophy is taught in a counterproductive way, at least in my experience. The philosophers sometimes forget who the audience is. The philosophers, if we want to be a bit more critical, the philosophers are pretentious pricks sometimes. They use a language that is esoteric, obscure on purpose, a language that is like, hey, look how smart I am. And in doing so, they are elitist. They think that they are too smart. They are too good for the rest of us. And in being elitist, they are developing this elitist club of them and their friends, their readers, this intelligentsia of folks who are intellectuals. And this intelligentsia is basically living in a bubble. They live in their own world. And they speak in a language that is alien to our language. And basically we cannot understand what they are saying, and we have no notion of how their concepts, their thoughts, their ideas relate to our reality. So I understand, of course. And this is why I make an active effort to not be that kind of person. To not do more harm than good. Because I am of the view that if you know something, and if you are being honest about it, You don't need to be pretentious. I don't need to sound smart. I don't need to use complicated words to appear profound. I let the message of what I say be profound. I trust in your judgment that you are able to think about what I am saying here, these simple words that I am using, this everyday language that I am using, that you will be able to take it and to reason about it and to think about it. And using your own means to say that yes, Protesilas, what you are saying is not mumbo jumbo. I can see it. Maybe I don't see the full picture yet because I am a beginner, but I can see it, yes. There is a practicality to it, yes. Honesty then. Honesty, patience. No need to be pretentious. No need to try to be another. I will try to be an intellectual being, a spiritual being. I cannot be that. That's not honest. I am a human being. And here is some lavender, by the way. Maybe you can see it. Some lavender. Wonderful. I am a human being, which means that I have reason, I have emotions, I have a body that I need to take care of. I have everything. I will not sit here pontificating in a language that is professorial, in a language that only an elite, an eclectic set of people can understand, and boost my ego. That is not honest. And I want to be honest. I want to show you what has helped me and what I am doing. And in talking about philosophy in this way, I am also showing you who I am. This is real. Just as the walks I am making, just as the hiking. You think I can fake this? You think I can do a video where I walk up the mountains, scale the mountain, and then keep walking for an hour under the beating sun without drinking any kind of water? You think I can fake this? I can't. This is real. And this is just a reflection of the kind of endurance one has at the mental level, because what you see here, the physical stamina, is consistent with the mental fortitude. This is not about me bragging. This is about me showing you how things work. This is me telling you how the practical aspect of philosophy contributes to our everyday life. And this is the result. This is the direction. That's all for today, folks. It's already, I can see that it's already 1 hour and almost 10 minutes there. So I will close this. I will conclude this recording. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any more questions on the topic of philosophy's practicality, please let me know. I am always eager to answer your questions. By the way, on my website I have my email address. protesilaos.com is my website, and there is my email address over there, so you can always contact me. You are always welcome to contact me. I always reply in a timely fashion, and you will definitely get your answer. And it will not be a yes or no answer. It will always be the right answer. I will give you the attention you deserve. That's all for today, folks. Thank you very much for your attention. I will keep walking. I have at least another 30 minutes until I get home, and more actually. I am fairly far away. So, take care, and goodbye from my side, from the sunny mountains of Cyprus, the Troodos mountain range. Bye.